Hi, I'm Dawn and this is where Shabby meets Bling. Today, I'm going to use the last thing I thrifted. Yes, I'm going to be using the last item I actually purchased at a resale shop. Granted, there was more than one item that I purchased in my cart, but the last thing. And I am going to make something absolutely spooktacular. I am not the only one that's going to be utilizing the last thing I thrifted. I am joined by some good friends. Lisa from Our Gray House, Jody from Jody at Southern Seasons, Annie from Crafting with Indiana Jones, Monica from Up All Night DIY, and Zana from OK at Home DIY. You will find the links to all of these very creative ladies' channels and this playlist in the description box below. So here's my score from my thrifting trip. I got this cute little bucket. I know what I'm using that for. And some salt and pepper shakers. That's going to be my prime object of focus. I've got some wood plaques, or wood candles, that'll come in handy. A frame, I'll be using that in the boutique, and some doilies. Another candlestick, you can never have enough wood candlesticks. Oh yeah, and some jingle bells for Christmas. I love these little things, so cute. Okay, that's and I got that stuff there too, but we're not using that today. Here is my pepper shaker, or pepper grinder, I guess. And step one, as usual, disassemble. So I need to get this thing apart. I know it comes apart. I had it apart, I put it back together. I don't know why. Probably so I wouldn't lose the pieces. So I've got to disassemble this thing and then we can move on. My pepper grinder isn't in the right format. You see this line right here? That's where I need to cut it off. So I'm going to take it out to the chop saw and we're going to give it a little quick makeover. And then I'm going to reconfigure this thing. Here's my pepper shaker. And voila! I chop it off. Choppy chop. And now I'm going to glue it onto the bottom. I'm going to shove some of my foam. I dare me to make a video where I don't use scrappy foam. I double dog dare me. So I'm going to shove some foam in that hole. I'm going to wood glue around the perimeter of my little cut. Struggle with that stupid glue. And I'm gonna add some hot glue as well. Flip this little puppy upside down. Make sure it's centered. Really important. This thing is centered. And I'm shoving more foam in there because I need that cavity to be full and solid. And then I'm gonna hold it until it dries. Now that my pepper shaker is reconfigured and is no longer able to be a pepper shaker, I have sanded it down a bit and also used a little of my glosser on it so that it will hold this paint. And I'm giving it a first base coat of just plain old black house paint. Once I finish the pepper shaker, I am painting a little paper mache box that I got at the Dollar Tree. And then I will also paint the base of that candlestick holder, which I took the little candlestick holder part off. I did follow up that first coat of interior house paint, which was a flat, with a coat of chalk paint, black chalk paint. And now I'm going to use just a white craft paint for the first coat on my little pepper shaker. And we are going to start painting it so it is what it's going to be at the end of this little project. And I'm just being very methodical on lining my lines up because what I'm making is a pretty distinct, obvious thing. And to make it look like what it needs to look like, I need to be pretty precise. Keep in mind, this is a stylized version, but I do need to be very specific with where my lines are and go from there. Here I have another Dollar Tree score from last year. I got them near the end of the season when they had, I don't know if they found like an extra shipment somewhere, but they had these skeletons, heads, the skulls, and they also had bones. So I did get some bones too. Not using it today, but so maybe you can figure out what that little bottom pepper shaker was. It's his body. It's his body for this big old skull head. And that's why I need to cut out a little hole for where I'm going to attach the pepper shaker. Now that we have that hole in the bottom of the skull where his spine will attach, now we need to start the painting process. And this is a white interior flat house paint, and I'm going to put a coat on, and I'm applying a second coat. Right now, I am putting a coat of Mod Podge over this entire skull. What's under the Mod Podge are already 2 layers of interior white paint. The whole process here is just to seal it and get as many layers on this thing as you can. If you've seen these things and you can't tell, I don't think you kind of can tell on his chin, but you can see the itty bitty teeny tiny pieces of the styrofoam, the little balls all held together. And I don't want that. I want this thing to look like paper mache. I want this thing to look like a vintage skull. So I have 2 coats of interior paint. I have a coat of Mod Podge. I have 3 coats of spray paint, flat white spray paint, and I have 4 more coats of white chalk paint over the top of it all to make it look like paper mache. Now that that's finally done, so much dry time. Now I am going to paint all his little cavities, his eyes, his nose, and I am going to paint between his teeth, just the line where the teeth come together and straight down in between each individual tooth. Scully. Yeah, I named him Scully. He has a skull, it's a big one, and that's his name. Scully has a head, and he has a body, and now he needs some hands. I was gonna sculpt some, but I was walking through Walmart in the crafty section, and I came across these stems. And I thought, wow, those things are tacky. But maybe, just maybe, I can change them around a bit and make them work for my guy's hands. If you notice, they're left hands. It's 2 left hands. So I'm going to take one and bend it backwards. Bend it all the way backwards, and it will become a right hand. He can't be too left-handed. Southpaw. So I am bending the fingers backwards, and the fingers also are too long. So I'm going to cut the fingers off at the last little joint. And then that'll work for Scully's little hands. I've got some balloon sticks, and I use these for a whole kinds of weird things, surprise. I'm going to take the balloon sticks, and I'm going to put some pretty heavy gauge wire inside, and I am going to glue Scully's hands, now white. You can see they've had multiple layers of paint, just like everything else in this project. And I'm going to make little arms. I am creating an elbow, and I'm leaving wire hang out, and then on the end I'm going to glue his hands where the little wrist will be. Now that Scully has a body, he's got his little body, he needs something to stand on. We already started prepping part of what is going to be the base, which partially consists of that little paper mache box and that candlestick base. This is what I had to do before I painted it. I took some pliers and just completely took that candle holder part off. And this stack like this is the way Scully will be standing, so you can see the components. And for a little more height, I'm gonna add another candle holder underneath it. I picked this up, went up for $1, but look at that. Isn't that awesome? Give him a little height, and it mimics the design that's etched into that pepper shaker. I want a hand-painted design around the base of that little paper mache box, around the whole thing, even the lid. The top part of the lid will be incorporated into the design. So I'm going to make a stencil, and the stencil is going to be of a Harlequin pattern. And I am just going to draw out a really simple triangle, and I'm going to make a stencil out of my paper first, like I do, and then I'm going to transfer it over onto some cardboard, and then I'm going to transfer this design onto the little paper mache box. As you can see, I have transferred my Harlequin pattern from my stencil onto my paper mache box, and even on the rim of the lid. So the pattern will continue and look whole with the lid on it. I am painting every other diamond in my Harlequin pattern with pumpkin chalk paint. And the ones that aren't the pumpkin will be that beautiful green. And as stated before, I'll list all the different colors of paint that I am using in the description box. Now that my Harlequin pattern is painted, I'm going to add some detailing where the little diamond shapes meet. And I'm using a darker green and a little tiny sponge round whatever brush. And I'm gonna put a little tiny circle in between each of the little diamond shapes. Just a few more details on my little paper mache box. Some nice little white lines. And then I'm going to add some little star shapes in that little green circle that we just made. So Scully's body parts are complete, and he's got a place to perch. Now he needs some accessories. That great big skull of Scully's needs a hat. So I am using a foam cone, and these came in a set of 6 in a package that I picked up at Hobby Lobby, and they are in the Christmas section. They're meant to be like little trees you can decorate, but perfect for a little cone kind of dunce cap. And I staked it, and now I'm going to give it a coat of pumpkin paint. This was an amazing find at a thrift shop. It is vintage garland, Halloween garland, and I picked it up for 50 cents, and I'm going to be using this for around the base of Scully's little cone hat. At this point, it's time to assemble Scully's body. I have gotten the bottom part of the pepper shaker onto that little paper mache box, and now I need to drill some holes for Scully's arms. Here is one last resale item that I picked up, and it is this weird cooking pan. I have a feeling it's for candy. I think that spring is supposed to hold like your candy thermometer. I don't know. I bought it because of the spring. I need this spring. I need to get it off, and you'll see why shortly. Scully tells me he's ready to be introduced to all of you. And guess what? He has a big surprise. Yes, he does. Let's start by checking out Scully's hat. His little dunce cap. You can see the detail that matches the base and that wonderful vintage garland. How sweet. There's Scully's little bony fingers and his little skinny, scrawny, bony arm. And there's his little skeleton body. Once a former pepper grinder. And of course I had to put a banner in his hand because he's spooky. Ooh. And there's a good look at the base, and you can see how well the hat coordinates beautifully with it. And the extra height definitely needed. I made that little spooky banner out of old men's dress shirts. Not old men, but old shirts that happen to be men's shirts. And there's Scully himself. Oh yeah, I forgot. I added eyes so he can see everyone. He's so cute. Are you ready to tell your secret, Scully? You are. Is your secret the fact that you're a bobblehead, Scully? It is. Wow, that is a good surprise. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, share it with your family and friends and anyone that loves Halloween. You can follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to check out my shop on Etsy. Ring that bell for notifications of all my upcoming videos, and be sure to watch the entire playlist. The link is in the description box below. You can show your support by subscribing, so don't forget to subscribe. But for now, this is Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.